I'm Nick Kushner, and welcome to my jazz guitar video. Today I'm going to give you my approach to playing jazz guitar. And first we're going to talk about diatonic chords. And so I'm going to just play a C major scale to start off. Here we go. Now to make the diatonic chords, we're going to build these what I call tetrads. They're 4-note chords from each degree of the scale. So this is the first degree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we build these chords pretty much triads. So you put a C, and then you would put an E, and then you would put a G, one on top of the other, and then for the major seventh it would be. So you build these chords just using the notes of the C major scale, and when you do that and you analyze each of those chords, I'm not going to go into how you analyze them, you'll find that the first chord is always a major seventh, a C major seventh. The second chord is always a minor seventh, in this case D minor seventh. The third chord is always a minor seventh, and this is called E minor seventh. The fourth chord is always major seventh, and this is F major seventh. The fifth chord is always a dominant seventh, and this is G7. The sixth chord is always a minor seventh, and this is A minor. The seventh chord is a minor 7 flat 5, and back to the one chord, which is C major seventh. Okay, so these relationships hold true for any of the 12 keys. So if I start with a D major scale, and I build these 4-note chords only using the notes of the D major scale, then I would start with D, and that would be the one chord is always major seventh, and the two chords always minor seventh, and so on. So these chords form the basis of how chord progressions are built in Western music. So besides playing these chords, I like to arpeggiate each. So I'll do that now in C. Okay, so when I play rock, I sometimes put in these kind of arpeggios, and if I'm playing in the key of A minor, I know that the relative major of A minor is C. So, and I just did those C arpeggios. So if I'm playing in A minor, I can go right into one of these C arpeggios. In this case, I'm going to go into the E minor, and I can go right into the F major 7 one. I can do connect these kind of C arpeggios with playing in A minor. And it's a fun thing to do. It creates a lot of movement, and it's nice to put in arpeggios because they're not closely spaced intervals. It adds a lot of interest to what you're doing. So now I'm going to talk about the five types of chords in Western music or in jazz. The 5 types of chords are the major seventh, the minor seventh, the dominant seventh, the augmented, and the diminished. So in the diatonic, we came upon 3 of those. and well, one of them was a half diminished, but I'm not going to count that. There's the diminished chord that I play here. And then there's a augmented chord, which is a it's pretty much like a dominant 7th chord, but you're raising the 5. So I just wanted to mention that those 5 basic chords, and they can be each played in 12 keys. So there's 60 chords there, 5 times 12, and each of those chords can be inverted, and there's 3 inversions. So 60 times 3 is 180. So there's 180 different chords that could be played based on those types, and then you can just modify each of those chords with what we call color tones. You could like add a flat 5 to it, or a sharp 5, or a flat 9, or a sharp 9. You can add an 11th or a 13th. And so when you do those kind of modifications on all those other chords, you can come up with thousands of different chords. So when I first was learning jazz, I would practice playing G major 6th, which is the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 6. And I would try to like find those tones up here in position 2, and that's this chord. And in the 3rd position, the same tones, the 1, the 3, the 5, and the 6. And then over here. Then I would do that for G minor 6th, which is the flat 3. And then G7. And then G major 7. So it's a good idea to play these different chords up and down the neck and find out all the different positions for the chords. And one really useful thing to do is to see how they relate to each other in the position. So if you're in position 1 and you play a G6 chord, if I just go from the E to the F, keep everything else the same, that becomes the G 7th chord. So, and then if I just go from F to F sharp, I get the G major 7th. So it's nice to see the chromatic nature of that. It's good to see it in the different positions. So over here, the E is here. Same thing over here, the E would be over here. Actually, I should start with like the 6th. And over here, G6. So it's good to see how chords change within the position. You start to understand where is that 7th, or where is the 6th, where is that, and it helps you to understand how chords change. So when I first started learning jazz, I would also play those chord tones in arpeggios. So for let's say G7, I would play the 1, the 3, the 5, and the flat 7, all the way up, the strings and different positions. do the G major 7th. I need to practice a little bit more. But you get the idea that the chord tones follow different patterns up the neck, and it helps to really learn those patterns if you want to be able to improvise, so you don't have to think about it. You'll know pretty much how to make those arpeggios. Let's see. Now I'm going to talk a little bit. I'd like to be able to kind of put things together and play you a chord progression. I'm going to do it in the key of E flat major. And I'm going to use a, let's see, I'm going to use the E flat major, the E diminished, the F minor 7th, the B flat 7, and then B flat 7 sharp 5. So I'm going to play with this kind of rhythm. Instead of just, hanging out on each of those chords, I'm going to do some inversions, make it a little more interesting. So, one thing I'll mention now is the way I'm playing. The rhythm is very important in jazz. There's a swing nature that emphasizes the 2 and the 4 beats. Rock is emphasizing more of the 1 and the 3. And it's hard to describe this kind of rhythm, this swing rhythm, without just listening to it, and I think if you keep listening to it, you'll end up being able to play this kind of rhythm. So now I'm just going to improvise a little bit based on those chords. So. So that's a little example of putting all those different things into practice. I was showing you before, the different patterns, the different arpeggios, chord tones, and let's see. My approach to playing that solo is to first be able to play the chord tones and then to supplement with other notes. It becomes apparent why it's so important, to know your chord tones up and down the neck, because when the chord changes, you want the transition to be smooth and not to drop the melody line that you have going, just so that you can find a pattern that you know. All the new patterns are always right where you are, and it's a matter of realizing that. So let's see, I think I'll talk a little bit about Miles Davis's All Blues. That's a great song. Kind of motivated me to just start learning jazz because I have a rock blues background, and I wanted to be able to play bluesy jazz. And so this progression, which I play in G7, really attracted me to jazz. So doing is pretty much like a blues, starting out in G7, and I'm just kind of playing like inversions off of the G7. In this case, I'm playing like a C. That's a C, and that's just like an inversion while I'm in the G7 part of the progression. So it just stays in G7 for a long time. That's all G7. And then it goes into C7 or C9, and I do some inversions off of that. Right. Then I played D minor 7th, E flat minor 7th, back to the D. So that's kind of, an example of a jazz approach to playing blues. So that's it for now, and I hope that you took home some things, and I hope you learned some things, and hope we'll see you in the next video. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.